For years, Blake Lively seemed to have the perfect Hollywood life, a successful career, a famous husband, a beautiful family, and an image that millions of people associated with effortless Hollywood glamour. But in 2024, that image began to change. A movie called It Ends With Us was supposed to be another major success. Instead, it became the beginning of one of Hollywood's most closely watched legal battles. Accusations were made, counterclaims followed, private messages became public, and suddenly, the actress who had spent years building one of Hollywood's most recognizable images was at the center of a storm. But to understand how Blake Lively got there, we have to go all the way back, before the headlines, before Ryan Reynolds, before the controversy, before Hollywood started asking, what really happened? Blake Lively wasn't exactly a stranger to Hollywood. She was born into a family deeply connected to entertainment. Her father, Ernie Lively, was an actor and director. Her mother, Elaine, worked as an acting coach and talent manager. So Blake grew up around the entertainment industry. But being born around Hollywood doesn't automatically make someone a star. Blake still had to build her own career, and eventually, one role would change everything. In 2005, Blake appeared in The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. The movie introduced her to a much wider audience, but 2 years later, her career would explode. Gossip Girl, Blake became Serena van der Woodsen, and suddenly, she wasn't just another young actress. She was a fashion icon, a television star, and one of the most recognizable young faces in Hollywood. Millions watched Serena every week, and millions started watching Blake, too. The interesting thing about Blake Lively's career was that she didn't remain a television celebrity. She gradually moved into major films. She appeared in projects like The Town and Green Lantern. And then her personal life began attracting almost as much attention as her career. Because Blake wasn't just becoming a Hollywood star. She was becoming part of Hollywood's most recognizable couple. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds became one of Hollywood's most recognizable couples. Unlike many celebrity relationships, their public image wasn't built around constant drama. Instead, they became known for their humor, their privacy, and their playful public interactions. Together, they built a family while continuing to maintain successful careers. From the outside, the picture looked almost perfect. Blake had become a successful actress, a fashion icon, a wife, a mother, and a major Hollywood personality. But then came a movie that would change the conversation around her. In 2024, Blake Lively starred in It Ends With Us, an adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel. The film dealt with a serious subject, domestic violence. Blake played Lily Bloom. Justin Baldoni directed the movie and played Ryle Kincaid. On paper, it looked like a major Hollywood success, and commercially, it was. The film eventually earned more than $350 million worldwide, but while audiences were watching the story on screen, something very different was unfolding behind the scenes. As the promotional campaign continued, people began noticing something unusual. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were rarely seen together during the film's promotion. Then, the headlines changed. What had begun as questions about a movie became questions about the people who made it. In December 2024, Lively filed a complaint accusing Baldoni of sexual harassment and retaliation. Baldoni denied the allegations. He later filed his own lawsuit, making serious claims against Lively and others. The dispute quickly expanded far beyond the movie itself, and suddenly, Hollywood wasn't discussing just a film. It was discussing two competing versions of what had happened. What followed would turn a successful movie into one of Hollywood's most closely watched legal battles. The most interesting part of Blake Lively's story, because her career was never built around controversy. It was built around an image, the glamorous actress, the fashion icon, the former Gossip Girl star, the Hollywood wife, the mother, the woman who seemed to have mastered the celebrity lifestyle. But once that image was placed inside a major legal controversy, people began looking at her differently. Some defended her, others criticized her, and millions formed opinions without ever being inside the room where any of these events actually happened. That's the danger of celebrity culture. A public image can take years to build, but it can change in a matter of weeks. Blake Lively's story isn't simply a story about a Hollywood controversy. It's a story about fame, about image, about relationships, and about what happens when the private world of celebrities collides with the public one. She went from a young actress to Serena van der Woodsen to a global star to one half of one of Hollywood's most recognizable couples. And then, one movie changed the conversation around her. The legal battle may have ended without the courtroom verdict many expected, but the questions about reputation, career, and public perception will probably remain for much longer. Because in Hollywood, a court case can have a beginning and an end, but an image can last forever. Maybe the biggest lesson from Blake Lively's story isn't about who won or who lost. It's about how quickly the world can change its opinion of someone. 1 year, you're Hollywood's golden girl. The next, you're at the center of one of its biggest controversies. And when the cameras finally stop flashing, you're left with something much harder to rebuild. Trust, reputation, and your own story, because behind the glamour, behind the headlines, and behind the empire, there is always a person trying to control a story. The world thinks it already knows. This was Blake Lively, and this is Behind the Empire.